Kitkatscanread. Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome to another video, and today's video is going to be a tag video. This tag is called the Pokemon Generation Title Tag. It's an original tag and it's created by Pages with Paige, and I will link the original video and channel down below in the description for you to check out, as well as the Google Docs document that contains all of the questions that go towards this tag. So basically this tag consists of several questions that go towards the generations of the Pokemon games, and so we start off with Generation 1, and the question with Generation 1 is a book that gives nostalgic feels. So for this one I've gone for the Dolphin Diaries series by Lucy Daniels. This I read when I was a child. I remember purchasing the books one by one. They're really cheap, they're like $3.99 at the time. I bought them all new. I remember going to the bookstore waiting to see if there was a new one, and I absolutely love these. I'm currently going through slowly rereading them all over again, and every time it just gives me such nostalgic feels when I go through it, and I'm like, I remember reading this, and yeah, really happy nostalgic feels. Then we go towards Red, and it's a book that started it all, or what got you into reading. So for me this one would be the Animal Arc series by Lucy Daniels as well, because this was a series about a young girl who wanted to be a vet. Her parents are vets. She's like 10 years old, and she goes on adventures with her friend James and helps other animals, especially any animals that got hurt or anything. And it's very nostalgic because, again, another series that I read as a child, and also yeah, they're just like really cute, and these were the first books that first got me into reading. Then we have Green, which is a book that you're naturally drawn to. So for this one I'm putting a series, and that is the House of Night series by PC and Kristen Cast. This is a series that I absolutely loved in my teens, and I still do now. And I'm slowly also kind of like rereading these as well. I haven't reread a book from this series in a few months, so I do kind of need to get one onto the radar. But this is a vampire series about this girl who's one day marked, and she goes to the House of Night school where they have magic and they're vampires, and it's full of drama. It's kind of like, I don't know, a drama TV show like Gossip Girl or Dawson's Creek or 90210 or something, but with like vampires. I don't know, it's just like there are some things that make you like think it's cheesy, like R-roll sort of stuff, but at the same time kind of really addictive. But this is always a series that I have just always been drawn to. Then we have Yellow, which is for an underhyped book. For this one I'm going to be talking about the Supervillain and Me by Daniel Banas. I absolutely love this book. Nobody really talks about this book on BookTube, and I think it's such a shame because this is such a brilliant book. This is the book that is about superheroes in the world, and basically this girl Abby, she sits with this guy and they kind of become friends, and it's just how this friendship is just like super awesome. It's brilliant, I really love it, and it's one of those books I would reread. I totally recommend it, and yeah, it's so good and needs more people to read it. Then we're moving on to Generation number 2, and that is for a book that didn't suffer second book syndrome. For this one I'm going to put the second book that's in the Dimily series, which stands for Did I Mention I Love You. This one is called Did I Mention I Need You. They are by Estelle Mascame, and they are just awesome. So literally the first book, it's about this girl, and she has to move and live with one of her parents who has a partner with stepchildren, and one of the stepchildren she ends up sort of having a big crush on, and it's literally just about her and her crush and like dealing with it and everything. But oh man, such a good book. The first book amazing, but this book really good too. Like, I flew through this book, was really addicted to it. So glad that I read it, and yeah, I need to continue on with the series so much, but so good, totally recommend it. Then we have Gold, which is to pick a book with gold foil on the cover. So for this one I've put A Sky Painted Gold by Laura Wood. This, as you can tell, is really gold. This is a brilliant story, another underhyped book that should have more people read it. It's a historical fiction novel that's about Lou, and she pretty much goes to this like really posh house with the Cardus, and she gets to know them, and she ends up on a whirlwind, but she ends up having this friendship with one of them who, you know, isn't what they seem and everything, and it's just brilliant. Such a good book, totally recommend it. people should again read this book too. Then we have Silver, which is a poker book that has a silver lining, which is like in any sort of interpretation that you can. So for me, I have put here Star-Crossed by Rachel Wing. This is one of my favourite books. I reread this a few times, probably at least 3. And since picking it up, I want to reread it again. But it's a really, really short book, and it's a sort of like Romeo and Juliet similar thing. And actually, ironically, they are doing Romeo and Juliet, but they are basically, the 2 main characters are sons and daughters of 2 families who have been rivals. Basically, they don't talk to each other, they literally hate each other. So they have been brought up to hate each other because of something that happened within the families. But at the same time, they do Romeo and Juliet. They've both been cast as Romeo and Juliet in their school play, and then they just keep like crossing paths and everything, and they find that they actually don't hate each other just like their families do. So yeah, really it's just about that friendship, and you know, could it possibly blossom. Such a good book, really underhyped. Yeah, I mean, it's quite an old book now, it's a few years old, but such a good book. And then we have Crystal, which is an eye-opening book. So for this one, I've put 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott, Mickey Daltrey and Tobias Lucanis. So this is now a movie, it's on Netflix, and I really like the movie, I really like the book. They are very, very similar. So if you'd rather watch the movie, totally go and watch it. I really recommend it. It's quite good. And I really, really enjoyed the book as well. Such a good book that is about cystic fibrosis and the stuff that people go through with cystic fibrosis. It's, you know, really sort of like gets you valuing your own lungs and stuff, and gets you in the feels, and it's a brilliant book. So it's about this girl called Stella who's got cystic fibrosis, very, very many treatments, but then she meets this guy called Will who has also got a very similar case, and therefore because they've got that, they cannot be more than like 6 feet apart. But they sort of make this rule with each other because they've developed this friendship that's, you know, let's make it 5 feet apart if we're just really, really careful. So it's just about them finding friendship in each other, and yeah, it's a brilliant book. Totally eye-opening, makes you sort of like rethink yourself and, you know, about the whole of cystic fibrosis. Moving on to Generation 3, we have got a top tier book. For this one I'm putting The Duff by Cozy Keplinger. I've recently reread this. I absolutely love it. So to me, it's one of my top tier books. It's just going to be one of those books I could reread again and again and again. It's just such a good book, and totally recommend it. This is a story about a girl and the most popular guy at school calls her the Duff, which stands for the designated ugly fat friend, which basically means you got your friends around you who are popular, good looking, and you're the friend that makes them look good and even better. So she gets told that she's that, and she's like, okay, well, I don't really want to be that. And then she's got some stuff that's going on in her personal life with her parents, and so to make her feel better, she spends more and more time with this popular guy in school. So it literally is just like about that. Really, really good book, and I love it. Next of all, we have a dystopian, and next of all we have Ruby, which is to pick a dystopian. So for this one I've picked Scythe by Neil Schusterman. This is the first book that's in the Arc of a Scythe trilogy, and I've only read this first book, but it is a really, really good book. Nutmeg, get down! Nutmeg! This is about 2 kids, and one day they are chosen to be apprentices of these scythes, both 2 different scythes who kill people in different ways, because basically it's a world where everything has been cured, all illnesses like cancer and everything. So therefore, in order to make sure that the death rate goes down, as well as, you know, making sure, you know, obviously the birth rate goes up, but to make the death rate go down, scythes are there to do that. So it's a dystopian world of that. It's a really, really good book. A lot of people do recommend it, but it is brilliant. Nutmeg, get down! Then we move on to Sapphire, which is to pick a book that relates to water. For this one I have chosen Listen to Your Heart by Casey West. This book is based around water. So this book revolves around, there's like a marina and boats, as well as a radio that basically is really cute. So it says, so she has to do this radio show. She's got to give advice on the radio for people, and somebody asks this question and she has to literally answer it, but she wants to know who this mysterious person that's called in is. So it's literally about that. It's a really, really good book. I want to reread it already because it's such a good book. It's probably my favourite Casey West book of hers, and I really, really enjoy all of her books. Like, she's one of my favourite authors. She's an autobiographer for me, and this is freaking amazing. And finally, for Gen 3 we have Emerald, which is to choose a book that features sky or space. So for this one I've put To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini, which I'm currently reading at the moment. This is a book that is sci-fi. It's definitely based in space. There are alien creatures as well as humans living in space from planet to planet, and spaceships, and it's a really, really good book so far. I can't tell you how it goes or how it ends and everything because, like I said, I'm currently reading it. But all I can say so far is it's really intriguing, super interesting, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Now we move on to Generation 4, and for that one it's to read a book with dual perspectives. So for this one I have put Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. This is told from not one perspective but more than that. We have got the main character, and we have got a character called Ridge as well. So we've got Sydney and we've got Ridge. So I'm just trying to find like a chapter. So for example, we've got a chapter here from Ridge, and then I'll just try and find a chapter for you from Sydney here. There's a chapter by Sydney. So more than one person. Really, really good book. The guy in this is deaf, and this girl, one day he witnesses her boyfriend cheating on her. So she then moves in to live with Ridge, and he's a deaf musician, and she gets into the world of that music and how he can play music and everything, and it's really, really good. Totally recommend it. It is one of my favourite Colleen Hoover books. Not my top favourite, but it is like one of my favourites. So first of all we have Diamond, which is a book that you found really hard to get through. For this one I am going to pick There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. This book put me in a reading slump, put it that way. I didn't really enjoy it. I think I either gave it 2 or 3 stars, I can't remember at this point of time, because I just couldn't with that book. But some parts of it I didn't mind. It's basically a slasher horror, like young adult book that's a bit like Scream, I suppose, compared to teen horror book. And the slasher horror bits I really liked. Like, I really liked it. But for me it was, I don't know, I found little parts of it quite boring. I was just like, come on, I don't know, it went a little bit slow at times, I think. And it was like, when the killer is revealed and the reasons why and stuff, I just thought it was stupid. I was just like, seriously, like, they've been revealed, not like at the end of the book or anything, like you're not kept high on your tension where you're just like, oh, it could be this person, oh no, it wasn't that person, and then just when the reason was revealed as to why they were killing, I don't know, to me, my personal opinion, I just found it really, really stupid. So I found it really hard to get through because I was reading it for a readathon, and for the readathon you weren't allowed to put books down, you weren't allowed to swap books and stuff. So I pushed myself through it and it put me in a reading slump. I totally regret reading it. Oh man, just, it's not good. Next of all we have Power, which is a hidden gem. For this one I am putting Nil by Lynn Matson. This book to me is a hidden gem. I've not read it in a while. There is a sequel to this that I need to get around to reading. So basically this is the story about this mysterious island, and you're given 1 year to escape or you end up dying. So basically this person called Charlie, they have no idea about any of the rules. They don't know where they are. They just remember blacking out completely. So they just literally wake up on this island. So yes, there's a lot of drama that goes on in this island, and it's really interesting, the stuff that happens on the island, the mysterious things. Definitely has a sort of like Lost feel to it, but it was really entertaining. I couldn't put this book down. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I need to reread it. It's a really good book and totally recommend it. Then we have Platinum, which is to show a book that features music. For this one I have chosen Faking Normal by Courtney C. Stevens. So in this book, music is infused because we have someone who mysteriously writes song lyrics on a desk in school. So it's about finding out who this mysterious person is because they sign it as the captain, and yeah, it's pretty much about that. Really good book, totally recommend it, and it's so underhyped that it's just unreal, but more people need to read it. I thoroughly enjoy this book so much, and I want more people to read it. It's brilliant. Now we're moving on to the next generation, which is Generation 5, and that's for black and white cover. For this one I've put the Death Note Black Edition. I'm showing here volume number 1 because this is the only one that I've got of this, and this is a bind up. It contains volumes 1 and 2 of Death Note, and it's brilliant. So this story is about Light, who is a student, and basically one day he stumbles upon this notebook, and inside it there are rules, and basically anybody's name that you can write in the book, if you don't put a reason for their death, they naturally die of like a heart attack. But you can literally in the notebook write their name, write how they're going to die, the time that they're going to die. So he's given this notebook, and so with this notebook he's thinking like, oh my god, I can literally be like a god. And along with the notebook comes a death god who owns the notebook, so it's about him, and so he uses it to go towards bad people like murderers or people that are on trial and stuff. And yeah, he's just like, you know, I could literally be like the best god ever because I get rid of, you know, all those bad people. However, not everybody thinks like that. And then there's a mysterious detective called L, who my tattoo is because it's one of my favourite animes, and he investigates into this. He like helps the detectives and the police to find out who the killer of all these mysterious murders of these inmates are. Like, they believe it's not natural causes and everything. They believe something's going on. So it's a really good manga series. Brilliant. This is the black and white edition, and yeah, totally recommend it. I love it. It's an anime as well, and Netflix also adapted a movie of it, like a live action movie of it as well, if you want to check that out. That is really different to the book, so keep an open mind for that, but still pretty good. I really enjoyed it. So for black, we need to pick a book that has an important message in the book. So for this one I've chosen The Chaos of Standing Still by Jessica Brody. This is about a girl. She is at an airport and there's like an avalanche, shitload of snow, so therefore no flights, so nobody can go anywhere, nobody can leave the airport. They're stranded at the airport, and she meets someone else who is stranded there, but she has a message on her phone from someone who she knew that's passed away, and she has never been able to listen to their final message. She's never been able to put that behind her, and she has no idea what it says or anything, so she's really afraid. So for this, the message comes across with that. I can't really go into too much detail because, you know, you should read it in order to know more, but brilliant story, loved it so much. And yeah, it's based around like New Year's Day, so it's probably like the best time to read it, but to be honest, like, you can read this like whenever. So yeah, totally recommend it. Really good book. And for white, it's to pick a light and fluffy read. For this one I've just put The Finning Boyfriend by Casey West, another Casey West book that's in this list. So this is literally about a girl who is dumped by her boyfriend, but therefore she tells her friends about this guy, because they're going to this place. She is like, oh my goodness, like, they want to see this guy, what do I do? So she just randomly goes up to this guy who's just sitting in his car, is like, will you be my filling boyfriend for these girls? and, you know, pretend to be my boyfriend whilst they're around and stuff, and he agrees to it. So then it's literally like all about that and that development and stuff. Yeah, it's brilliant. But yeah, more people should read it. It's just, I really like it, like loads. It's really, really fluffy and a really light and fluffy read. Moving on to Generation 6 now, and that is for a book that rekindled love for a series. For this one I've put Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. This is the third and final book that's in the Infernal Devices trilogy, and it had been a big break between me reading the books just because of, you know, all sorts of things that always happen sometimes. So this, when reading it and diving back into the world again, rekindled my love for the trilogy and the whole Shadowhunter world in general. I love these books so much, and this book has a lot of feels, ends perfectly, it's seamless, it's brilliant, and yeah, it's one of Cassandra Clare's best works, this book. But yeah, the Shadowhunter books I'm just a massive fan of. Then we have X, which is for a book that features pirates. I'm gonna go towards this book, which I haven't got around to reading yet. I haven't read enough of pirate books yet. For Y is a book that makes you ask questions. This can literally go towards any book, especially in a series that ends in a cliffhanger, because at the end of a cliffhanger you are asking yourself so many questions. So for this one I've just chosen to put Saga. I have read the first 3 volumes so far, and they always end up making you want to know more. And to be honest, this is a series that makes you question anything anyway, because it's just a crazy series that's wacky and doesn't make sense, and you end up wondering what on earth you're reading, but at the same time it is brilliant. So I really, really recommend this. Generation 7 now, and that is for a book that had a successful cover change. Now for me, I'm going to go towards the actual Mortal Instruments, definitely trilogy, because the first 3 books came up. Originally this was a trilogy, and not a lot of people do know this, hence why when you're reading them you can read them in publication order, because the first 3 books were published and then you go towards the first book in the Infernal Devices, then you return to the Mortal Instruments. So yes. Now originally the trilogy had different covers that weren't brilliant in my opinion. I did have the first 2 books in this with a really dark cover, and to be honest I ended up unhauling them. I was just like, I don't want to read this, and I have no idea why I unhauled it, and I think it purely was because of the covers. So the cover change. Now these are the American ones, but also the UK ones pretty much have the same colour but not metallic. So here is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. So this cover change I'm going on about, I know that they've released other editions as well, but this is the cover change I'm going on about. There is paperbacks with this cover, but just minus the metallic for the UK. But I love the American ones. I like how the hardbacks just flop open really nicely. The pages just feel really good. The font is just so clear and it's just beautiful, and I love it so much. And I just love these editions. I've pretty much got all of the books in these editions now. They're expensive but worth it. So yeah, I love these covers compared to those dark covers that I used to have with the first couple of books. So much better. Then we have Sun, which is a book that brightened your day. For this one I'm going to put Love Rosie, or Where Rainbows End by Cecilia Ahern. This is an adult book. This is the movie cover edition. I watched the movie first before reading this. The book and the movie are quite different. I love the movie. The movie is one of my favourite movies ever. But at the same time, the book just, I don't know, it makes you feel super happy. Proper happy. In this book it goes on to when they're older, when they're sort of old basically, but the movie sort of ends when they're near enough, at the end. I don't want to spoil it, I'm sorry, but yeah. How can I it's about 2 best friends that are a woman and a male. They both have feelings for each other, but every time one of them is just about to confess, something happens. It's a really, really shitty situations. Something happens. It could be bad timing, but yeah, it's about their relationship with each other as their friends, and also at the same time, things that happen could cause conflict between their friendship. But it's really good. Like I loved it so much. So yeah, this definitely brings sunshine and happiness. So for Moon, it's for a book that kept you up late at night. This one I'm going to put is All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. This was a book that I could not put down. I would read it at night, I'd read it in the morning, I would just, you know, not be able to put it down. It's one of my favourite books. There's also a movie for this as well on Netflix. This is the story of two people who suffer with mental health, and one of them literally is just like, they want to take their own life. One of them basically is drawn to that because their sister passed away, so they end up meeting on a bell tower and developing a friendship, getting to know each other, and yeah, it literally is just about those two people, Violet and Finch, and they're both problematic people with a lot going on, but it's literally just about their friendship. It's brilliant, but I found it really hard to put down even when rereading it. I just love it. Then we move on to Generation 8, and that is for an overhyped book. So basically a book that I'd read that had hype, but to me, I feel it doesn't deserve it. And I just want to reinstate that this is my opinion. This is my opinion on the book. You might love it. I know loads of other people love it, but this is how I found the book. So unfortunately for me, I find this an overhyped book, and that is Mooncakes by Suzanne Winokur and Wendy Zhu. So this is a graphic novel that's about a witch and a werewolf, and they literally have this friendship, but at the same time it's an LGBT book as well, so I can't remember what they have. I'm really sorry, but I feel like one's bisexual and one is something else. But yeah, they basically have feelings for each other. But to me, the only reason why I found it really overhyped is because to me, I was just like, I have no idea how these two met. I want to know the prequel to the book. I want to know how they met. All of a sudden they're like, hey, how you doing, blah blah, like, but sometimes in books when you get like friendships and they start off like that and they're like, how you doing and stuff, they show you how they met and stuff. They talk about something like how they met, or like, oh yeah, like I met so and so, or like, or you know, they'll say it in some sort of way, like a sentence, or like, you know, like I just remember that day that we did this and blah blah, like just some way to like bring it back to the past so that you know something about them. But this, you didn't know anything about them. They're just like, I don't know, there was just something that was missing. To me, I just would have liked more. That's all it was. To me, I just would have liked more. Like, I just felt like it was just really cut short at the beginning. They just needed more. That's all it was. Just more information. And I think because that irked me, I didn't end up enjoying the book. Like, it sounds horrible. I mean, I ended up giving it 3 out of 5. So it was an okay read. But to me, I think, like, because so many people talk highly of it, to me, I'm just like, I don't know, there's something about it that just, I don't know, to me, I need more. So for Sword, it's a book that you could use as a weapon. You can use any hardback book as a weapon, but the bigger and the longer it is, the better. You can actually realistically go with a really, really sort of like tall, long book, but you could also go with a short, fat book, or a medium fat book, or whatever. So I've just grabbed the closest hardback book to me, which is this one, To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. I'm sorry, I'm kind of like repeating a book, but like, yeah, this is a weapon. It's really heavy to hold even with this hand. Like, it literally makes my wrist ache. So that will be a brilliant weapon, and handy that I've got it nearby, because if anyone tries to attack me, then get in it. The Shield is a book that you have used or that you can use for some support. So it's basically kind of like a book that, you know, a non-fiction book that maybe has helped you, or, you know, maybe if a fiction book has helped you get through something. So for me, I am putting What Cats Want by Dr. Yuki Hattori. This is from Japan's leading cat doctor. It's an illustrated guide for understanding your cat. So there has been so much information in this book about cats, their facial expressions, what they mean, their body language. Since reading this book, I have known exactly the items to get for the cats, like the exact items, not what people assume to get, and also how to treat the cats, like because of the behaviour, if that makes sense. So for example, you know, if one of them is acting in a certain way, I'll be like, oh yeah, that's because they want to play, or that's just because one's bored, or, you know. So it helped me. It definitely helped me. I really recommend it if you're getting a cat, or if you're just literally, you got cats and you're just like, I have no idea how to please my cats, they're driving me mad, what do I do? This book will help you. Like, it helped me, it will help you. And that is the end of the tag. I've answered every single question. I believe there's like 28 in total. I was determined to answer every single one. It's a brilliant tag, so good, and massive well done to Paige for doing this tag and for tagging me in it. I'm just, thank you for tagging me in it. So that's the end of the tag. I am going to tag some people. I'll leave them down below in the description, and I'll chase out some people that want to do it on the Twitters, and they will be down below, like I say, in the description, as well as all of my personal information if you'd like to follow me elsewhere, like my Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads, my Amazon wishlist there, my gaming channels are there, Twitch and YouTube, and my gaming Twitter, and book clubs that I'm in, book clubs that I host, readathons and stuff. All of that basically is down below in the description. But that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to do this tag, feel free to do it as well. You don't have to, you know, be tagged. If you're just like, oh, I'm really interested in that tag video and I want to do it, just do it. Like, what's stopping you? It's a tag video at the end of the day. It doesn't matter. Let's spread the love on BookTube. Share videos, do videos, you know, that's what it's all about, right? So yeah. Or if you don't do BookTube and you just want to answer the questions yourself, if there's a question you really want to answer but you don't have a video for, you can like tweet about it, or you can simply set down below in the comments for everybody to take a look at, or comment on the original video as well, because, you know, she deserves it. And also subscribe to the original creator as well, because she deserves that too. But that's it for me, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this video as always. Keep smiling, keep reading, and be happy. Most importantly, please do stay safe. And I'll see all of you wonderful, awesome people in my next video. Bye!